woke up this morning to a very disturbing image, right? Dream, whatever you want to call it, that's different from what I've seen, at least for a very long time. There's an article that on August 3rd, in the DFW area, 17 vehicles were procured or were obtained after busting a chop shop. Unfortunately, this time 2 years ago, I was being told by somebody who tried to get me to agree on July 4th to help him pay for his energy bill after showing me pictures of a dominatrix that he had been awarded over $10,000 from the state of Texas insurance commission because he had reason to file a claim for someone refusing to pay him to tow vehicles during and after Hurricane Harvey. Apparently, he had a tow truck, and during Hurricane Harvey, he was towing trucks and towing cars that, for whatever reason, were in need of being towed. And the person who contracted with him to do this disputed his rate of compensation. You know, after he got his payoff from the insurance commission, there was literally nobody I was allowed to talk to the entire time. Since he got paid for his towing of vehicles after Hurricane Harvey, well, I guess there's an understanding. Did he tow me? Did he get credit for towing me from someplace I wasn't supposed to be into the lot where somebody could pull one of those old 420s? You know, the mechanics lien. And now they want to talk about how they found 17 vehicles that were stolen and taken to a chop shop the day after the appeal of Amber Geiger. Now, they did this 2 days before the appeal, but 2 days before the appeal, am I not already online asking very specifically, within the last 3 days, did I not go online and ask specifically what happened to the women at the shelter I was with? I've referenced the audit of 2017 at that shelter specifically several times. How many women that went there and were designated as assets by the various companies that made sure to put their own mezuzah right there on the door? How many of those women are still alive? Or were they taken to chop shops and stripped and scrapped for parts and then sold off to other people to be recomposited into our new army of COVIDistas, right? There's an article about how I just can't believe what people who aren't vaccinated are saying and doing. I know, it probably seems like there's a really unfair equivocation. We got to deal with infrastructure. And I'm worried about a report on a chop shop of 17 vehicles that ended up getting found after they had been stolen and taken to a chop shop. I mean, apparently somebody has been trying to remind me in the last 2 days I don't have any authority. Is that because you busted me down to a GMC, let somebody steal me, take me to a chop shop with a bunch of other Chevys and GMCs, and then start taking my parts off so I can't even be resold? And that's what you did with the fleet. You already knew that the pension that you dispossessed me of was coded to a government accounting office of a form regarding vehicle maintenance. Your response to what I did last weekend as a effort to address acts of pension fraud was to wake me up with a visualization of having been completely disassembled into component parts in my own room, right? in conjunction with other rooms that had been broken down into component parts, where some very authoritative looking people are going and looking around and talking about what were they talking about? What are you guys talking about today? Things that are completely inappropriate, but serve to continuously implant into the unconsciousness that you're so infinitesimally irrelevant yourself and so inconsequential that the closest thing to an acknowledgement that you've actually been kidnapped and tortured is going to be putting you in a class with 16 others that got sent to a garage and stripped down, all the while knowing that ever since you refused to help that guy who got his kickback successfully delivered from the insurance commission pay for his energy fees and his energy cost, nobody is going to talk to you. Now, let me ask you, do you still intend to maintain this charade that I'm supposed to be kicked out onto the street exactly 1 month after the date on my birth certificate, which has been used in numerous crimes? Because why? Do I no longer look as good as I did when I had all of my parts put together and somebody else could take me out for a drive and park me where they wanted? I mean, this is the level you wanted to keep it at, right? This is the level you wanted to keep. What it tells me is that every single person I've met in Dallas is literally part of an organized crime syndicate that apparently has cover so substantial that they can get away with literally kidnapping 17 of us. Am I number 17? Are there currently other 16 other women in Dallas in a situation comparable to me where this organized crime syndicate has kidnapped us and has put us on a VPN where a bunch of you actually get to watch what we do and try to make an excuse about how do you have a job in law enforcement? Do you have a job in insurance underwriting? Do you have a job actually working at a school, and so I'm supposed to modify my behavior because you've got presumably students that are watching what I do and using it in the consideration of whether or not they get course credit? Okay, so there's 17 of us. There are 17 women that have been kidnapped and have been attempted for extortion. You've stripped us. You've chopped us up. There's 17 of us in the DFW area. What the fuck are you going to do? You sold me for $10,000. I mean, I should be happy. That's actually more than I understood I was worth prior to you confirming that 2 years ago, before COVID 19 started, by the way, you had already sold me for $10,000. So, do you intend to put me back on the street and let some other jackass come and this time instead of towing me and my as a vehicle, what's he gonna do? Let me ask you, did he get those credits from that pending legislation that you're certainly going to be considering as part of the infrastructure bill, right? Because I know now why you had me called into Dallas instead of taking the evidence to actually do what you said you were doing. And I also know why you sent me that Social Security notice when I contacted your office about cybersecurity, right? So you got me and 16 other women here that you're trying to chop up and torment. And here's the thing, they're going to be dealing with it in whatever manner they're going to be dealing with it, right? They may be taking drugs. They may be actually engaging in acts of sex in order to try to do anything from alleviate actually excruciating physical pain to having some kind of companionship, at least at some point in time, where they can actually talk to somebody and maybe actually feel like a real person as opposed to just an object in a box. And under the circumstances with the COVID, we were already selected, we were already kidnapped, we may well have already been used in the course of using COVID 19 as this kind of extortion on other people, including in connection with people being heroes because of their compliance with their role as healthcare providers after being put in network or even recruited by people that had already been established through the so-called Health and Human Services and healthcare network in the state of Texas to do things just like that, to take women, to code them, to have other people work profiles where they select certain ones of us to be their special purpose vehicles, and then to figure out, well, it's actually not their responsibility. Now we've got COVID and the contact tracing, and we've got the microchipping. So that's been automated. But you got this problem because you got women like me, and we were the starter. We were the segue. We were the gateway drug into the whole COVID 19 phenomena, right? Apparently, we're doing what we're doing. How many of those other 16 women are still alive this morning? How many of us are still alive? You're not kicking a goddamn fucking one of us out. You, all of you that see this, that hear this, you got till the end of the weekend. And I'm not threatening you. I'm saying you're conscious. I am binding your conscience right now. You've got us in this situation, and you cannot say COVID 19 absolves you. You cannot say, well, because of the situation we're in, a lot of people are in a difficult situation, and if we make an exception for you, you already made us the exception to being able to be given due process, being able to even be given basic dignity. You're not allowed to do this. Somebody's going to have to actually, non-derivatively, take responsibility for what you got yourself into. You can't say, well, we didn't consent. We didn't know it was at, you knew exactly the level you were willing to go. And if somebody did not completely abdicate and assimilate into accepting that you were entitled to do this to them, and so it's been revealed that it's not just going to be a news report about 17 cars being found in a chop shop, that you're going to have to deal with kidnapping and extortion and torture and all of the other crimes associated with what you stole from us. I'm not sorry. If you have a problem with what is bound on your conscience, then you need to deal with that, right? $10,000. You gave a man $10,000 to kidnap women, even if all he did was deliver them to the kidnappers. The Texas Insurance Commission gave a man $10,000 to kidnap women. What else did they do?